the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, also known as the newly agreed upon CBA deal. Make no mistake about it, folks. Every time the owners came to the table and said, fine, we'll increase the salary cap to this, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, fine, we'll pay for your housing again, you can thank Caitlin Clark. Every time the owner said, shoot, we really don't want to come up off this 15% number, but you know what? We'll move a little bit. You can thank CC20.
This was not what A'ja Wilson expected. For the past 2 years, nobody has persuaded themselves that. The media fabricated the excitement. The Caitlin Clark incident was overblown, and the figures would eventually drop, and that this league would continue without all of the true stars that existed prior to Clark's arrival. Of this disturbance, the largest collective bargaining agreement in professional women's sports was recently approved by the WNBA. None of them could have predicted this in basketball history. If you enjoy this content, you might want to give this video a like and sign up for the channel. IT may surprise you to learn that almost 83% of viewers have not yet subscribed. Even though it only takes a second and is free, it means the world to us. Have you already subscribed? Fantastic. I sincerely appreciate your help. Let's return to the video now.
A'ja Wilson and all her Glazers could give a big thank you to Caitlin Clark for her getting paid. Ever since the league came to an agreement, all we've been hearing about is how A'ja Wilson is about to sign this historic Supermax deal like she just did it all on her own. No, you could thank Caitlin Clark for revolutionizing the game so you can get paid. We don't care how many MVPs and championships A'ja won or how she was already known. It doesn't matter. She didn't change the dynamic of the league for the players that get paid like this.
The salary cap was raised from $1.5 million to $7 million. The average salary for players rose from about $120,000 to more than $600,000. Over $300,000 was the minimum pay, the kinds of figures that this league's seasoned players have been. Real money, revolutionary money, is what Caitlin Clark has been fighting for since she was in high school to Clark's shift from $78,000 and $66 in. The first figure they showed was from 2025 to $530,000 in 2026. The structure is currently ablaze.
Example, 2024 Rookie of the Year Caitlin Clark, who made $78,066 in 2025, is poised to see her salary jump to $530,000 in 2026. So this year, she is about to jump to that salary, okay? Now, the other jump, the new provision would also be applicable to younger stars such as Aaliyah Boston, who is max eligible in 2026, and Paige Beckers, who is max eligible in
This is what actually happened. Everyone involved in women's basketball was aware that a deal between the Players Association and the WNBA was looming and lasted for 17 months. The old CBA was no longer in existence that IT was a structure designed for. A league that was having difficulty maintaining its relevance, not one that was developing packages for broadcast rights that would have. 5 years ago, I was laughed out of the room for selling out arenas with empty seats. In years and breaking records for viewership, and at the center of all that growth, every important step was one individual. And each meeting in which CEOs were now attentive, they had the battery in the back for this reason.
Was because of Caitlin Clark's impact. All of the numbers and the metrics that the players could point to. Oh, do you see these ratings? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Oh, do you see this attendance? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. Do you see the social media impressions? Well, Caitlin Clark effect. This is called the Caitlin Clark stimulus package, and it will go down
as a result, a mechanism that no one wanted to explicitly name was incorporated in the new CBA when it was introduced in March 2026. Following a specific person, they called it the fast-track compensation scheme known as the EPIC Clause. For athletes who change the league's financial status before their rookie contract expires. Contract, referred to as exceptional performance on first contract. The clause's official wording. excludes the name of Caitlin Clark. IT didn't have to. Every women's basketball boardroom knew exactly who they were concentrating on. The epic clause is used by the WNBA to quietly and legally declare in writing that no two players are similar. Some players require different paperwork.
So this WNBA collective bargaining agreement will fast-track the ability for players on a rookie scale contract to make maximum and supermax salaries, sources told ESPN. The new provision, called EPIC, Exceptional Performance on Initial Contract, allows players to renegotiate their 4-year salary and earn the standard max that year if they were previously an all-WNBA first team or second team, or the Supermax if they won the...
The figures are the only thing that accurately conveys this story without softening the edges. So let's place them on the table. The athlete Caitlin Clark, who sold out rival arenas in places that had helped the WNBA hit 1 million viewers per game for the first time since 2008 in 2025, despite not having a full house in 10 years. More television viewers watched the player whose name was on a schedule than any other player in the league combined. Collectively, earned $78,066. That's around the salary of a mid-level paralegal that is comparable to the pay of an entry-level marketing coordinator who works at a desk in a location where no one visits for holiday.it is far from what a rookie in the NFL, NBA, or Major League Baseball would start at. Meanwhile, Clark was setting assist records, selling shirts, and installing cameras in women's basketball, something that hadn't happened in a while. Her behavior was truly unheard of. Within this league, she was also receiving a check from the league that was not enough to cover 2 months' worth of rent. On a decent apartment in Indianapolis, that's not a salary. The league is placing a wager that its most precious asset won't. Do the math. She did some math in the realm of sports. Everyone calculated it. Furthermore, the new CBA reflects the league's official, long overdue acknowledgement to the public that they were forced to comply.
What has now happened is, because of the quote-unquote epic rule, I'm going to call it the Caitlin rule, because let's be real, she was the first person to have reached this, whether it be it's Caitlin, Aaliyah, and Paige are all eligible. I'm just going to call it the Caitlin rule. Just like the old Rose rule in the NBA, we're going to call it the Caitlin rule. So, ironically, if Caitlin goes and wins MVP this year, she's actually eligible for the Supermax in 20.
It is no longer the case in 2026. Clark's salary has increased by over 500% to $530,000, nearly 6 times her income from the season before. And before you start applauding the league for finally getting it right, pause. Because that $530,000 is still the greatest team sports discount out on right now, and it's not even close. Clark made $16.1 million in 2025 alone, while the WNBA paid her $78,000 compensation, endorsements, public appearances, speaking engagements, contracts, and the entire business. Wilson, Gatorade, State Farm, Nike, and HY. She is the 6th highest paid female athlete in the world. She received less than half of 1% of her total pay from the WNBA in. Her income potential peaked in 2025, ATA price that no professor could afford. The league was getting franchise-level services at a business school might defend without experiencing bodily discomfort. The $530,000 rise is real. You're welcome. It still doesn't fairly reflect Clark's actual worth, even if it has been earned many times over. When her name appears on the away schedule, every sponsor, TV network, and venue sells out. The increase is unjust. This is the least the league could do to prevent embarrassing itself even more.
Structured. In order for this team to remain intact, Sophie would have to be willing to take a league minimum kind of deal, which is around $300,000. And I don't see that happening. Okay, and I believe also people are going to be shocked how much money Lexi Hull is about to be offered, because I think she's going to get offered $600,000 to $700,000 by somebody. And that is going to greatly complicate things.
At this point, though, the story starts to resemble a chess puzzle rather than a celebration. Because when Clark's salary rises from $78,000 to $530,000, money does not just appear. It comes from a cap on salaries. The WNBA has set a new wage cap of $7 million, the Indiana Fever must utilize. The entire pay budget in order to build a basketball team that is competitive, not just for Clark, but for everyone. From the starting lineup to the bottom of the bench, every player has to earn at least $7 million additionally, prior to any renewals, prior to the maximum deals and the summer decisions that will define the kind of team Indiana can truly assemble. Clark presently consumes over 7% of the cap on her current contract alone. What happens has a name. To a salary cap, when your franchise player and 3 other important players are up for extensions within the same time frame. Obtains just reward. That word is squeeze. And all of it will be felt by the Fever.
Wish they would have had Kelsey Mitchell on here. Because after last season, I mean, look, Kelsey finished what? 3rd or 4th in the MVP voting? This is her contract. To make as much money as she possibly can, I believe, in this league. And come next year, because I don't think that the Fever are going to be able to keep her next season. And one could argue, depending on how much you covet depth on a team, like how deep do you want your team to be? I think one could argue against re-signing Kelsey Mitchell this year.
Let's talk about Kelsey Mitchell, who is routinely undervalued by the national media. She is one of the most hazardous scoring guards. The new CBA has made negotiations easier, and she is the second best player for the Indiana Fever. Considerably more expensive contract at a crossroads. Mitchell was a free agent prior to the 2025 campaign, but Indiana made use of the core designation to enter into a 1-year agreement with her under the new CBA. Mitchell, the Fever core, was paid $1.4 million. A supermax contract that, should they want to make the best short-term decision in 2026, is perfect for a player of her ability. It also amounts to 20% of Indiana's $7 million cap on a single player who isn't Caitlin Clark. Additionally, Aaliyah Boston is eligible for this offseason. Clark, meanwhile, is only qualified for a 3-year maximum deal. Under the Epic Clause, for $1.3 million in 2027, which will rise to a $1.7 million Supermax extension in 2028. Carefully go over those numbers. Clark received $1.30 million, Boston at limit Mitchell's $1.4 million super limit. Just those 3 players account for over half of Indiana's total cap. More than half prior to their completion. The forward rotation, add a backup point guard, or cultivate any depth that sets winning teams apart. From teams that won titles, the Fever's front desk is staring at that calculation from the standpoint of a $7 million budget that is the appearance of a historic pay raise.